Hello, and welcome back to Finding Jesus Today with Jen. I'm Jen. Welcome back if you have been here before, and if you have not and this is your first time, I encourage you to look at my previous videos, and I'm sure it will bless you too, and I hope this blesses you today. Today I'm going to read from the book of Daniel about Nebuchadnezzar, where he makes the golden idol, and it's where Shadrach, Meshack, and Abednego refuses to worship, and then what happens after that. And then we'll discuss and see first the historical sense of it, from there, and then how we can put it into what Christ is calling us to do, and what Christ and also how that differs in some aspects of Christianity. So it's Daniel 3, verses 1 through 18. Again, I am using the Holy Bible right here, and it is the New Revised Standard Version. So if you want to follow along, grab your Bible. It can be any Bible, but if you want to read from the one that I particularly read from, now you have it. So I'm going to go ahead and begin, but if you want to follow along, just push that pause button and come back and join me. So King Nebuchadnezzar made a golden statue whose height was 60 cubits and whose width was 6 cubits. He set it up on the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. Then King Nebuchadnezzar sent for the satraps and the prefects and the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, the justices, the magistrates, and all the officials of the provinces to assemble and come to the dedication of the statue that the king Nebuchadnezzar had set up. So the satraps, the prefects, and the governors, the counselors, the treasurers, the justices, the magistrates, and all the officials of the provinces assembled for the dedication of the statue that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. When they were standing before the statue that Nebuchadnezzar had set up, the herald proclaimed aloud, "You are commanded, O peoples, nations, and languages, that when you hear the sound of the horn, pipe, lyre, trigon, harp, drum, and entire musical ensemble, you are to fall down and worship the golden statue that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. Whoever does not fall down and worship shall immediately be thrown into a furnace of blazing fire." Therefore, as soon as all the peoples heard the sound of the horn, pipe, lyre, trigon, harp, drum, and entire music ensemble, all the peoples, nations, and languages fell down and worshipped the golden statue that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Accordingly, at this time, certain Chaldeans came forward and denounced the Jews. They said to King Nebuchadnezzar, "O king, live forever. You, O king, have made a decree that everyone who hears the sound of the horn, pipe, lyre, trigon, harp, drum, and entire musical ensemble shall fall down and worship the golden statue, and whoever does not fall down and worship shall be thrown into a furnace of blazing fire. There are certain Jews whom you have appointed over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshack, and Abednego. These pay no heed to you, O king. They do not serve your gods, and they do not worship the golden statue that you have set up." Then Nebuchadnezzar, in a furious rage, commanded that Shadrach, Meshack, and Abednego be brought in. So they brought those men before the king. Nebuchadnezzar said to them, "Is it true, O Shadrach, Meshack, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods, and you do not worship the golden statue that I have set up? Now if you are ready, when you hear the sound of the horn, pipe, lyre, trigon, harp, drum, and entire musical ensemble, to fall down and worship the statue that I have made, well and good. But if you do not worship, you shall immediately be thrown into the furnace of blazing fire. And who is the God that will deliver you out of my hands?" Shadrach, Meshack, and Abednego answered the king, "O Nebuchadnezzar, we have no need to present a defense to you in this matter. If our God, whom we serve, is able to deliver us from the furnace of blazing fire and out of your hand, O king, let him deliver us. But if not, be it known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods, and we will not worship the golden statue that you have set up. So the king had ordered everyone in his that he's over his province and stuff, that they are to follow and they are to obey him, and they were not to question anything that he said. They were not to question why. They were not question to the reasoning or the hows or the whats. They were not to question at all, but just to fall down once they heard the musical ensemble and worship the statue that the king had made and that the king had set up. It was something that he devised of his own hands. He probably had help with it too, but something that he made and he came up with, and he wanted to be praised for it. And how to show that praise? They are to show their praise by worshiping and revering this golden statue, this idol that he made. He did not give anybody a choice. And if they did not do what he said, they would be thrown into a blazing furnace. Now, some of you might be thinking, well, doesn't Christianity teach about the fiery pits? And the answer is yes. And that's a fair question. There are some differences. Nebuchadnezzar will not give a choice. It is unwavering worship, unwavering obedience. Just think of like a robot. You do as I say now. If you don't do it now, then I will execute you immediately. But if you so Shadrach, Meshack, and Abednego did not do that. They said, no, that's not what we think is right. That's not what we believe. We don't believe in worshiping idols or worshiping many gods, so we're not going to do that. So, and if you look back where, in the New Testament with Christ, Christ wants us to come to him, and he wants us to have the choice. He does not want us to just follow him out of blind obedience. He wants us to follow him and worship him because that is something that we want to do. So he told, so with Jesus, he wanted people to understand of the whys and of who he is and who he ministered to. So he told stories that was relatable to the present day circumstances of his time. And so he, told parables, like the prodigal son is one of them that he told. And that's a great example, actually. So, in the prodigal son, the son disobeyed the father. The father did not seek out to have him executed. He rejoiced when he came back home. But another thing that Jesus wants us, that it states, is that he wants us to come to him as children. And that's not saying that we are to be childish or act childish. But if you think about infants, they have to learn to crawl. And then before they can walk, they have to get the pattern of crawling. And then after they know how to crawl, they learn to stand and they learn to balance. And then once they can do that, then they try and take their first step. So it's taking steps of understanding and coming into the faith. And with that becomes, we'll fall down. It's also asking questions. So he wants us to come to him with with children, that they have questions, they have wonder. Sometimes they're just in awe of the new things that are around them. They want to learn. But Nebuchadnezzar did not give that opportunity to his people. He did not allow them to question. He did not allow them to want to learn and to grow into what it was that he was commanding, and to understand and then come to it in their time with their decision, if they thought that was the right thing to do. Christ wants us to come to that understanding, and he wants us to come to him on our own and not be forced. Because if we are forced from fear, is it really true discipleship? Are we truly following him for the right reasons because we understand, or are we following him out of absolute fear? So he doesn't want us to come to fear or by force or through threats. Nebuchadnezzar said, if you don't fall down and worship this idol, I'm going to execute you. And although there are Christians who would say, if you don't follow the faith, then you need to follow the faith, not unless you're going to burn in hell. That's the wrong approach. We need to show through our lives of what it is Christ is about. So, to come to him, willingly, and not treat people who don't believe like us as criminals just because they're not Christian. That's the wrong approach, because if you start treating them like criminals, you're not going to turn them to you. They're going to go someplace where it's comfortable, someplace where they are not told that they're going to burn, or they're going to whatever X, Y, and Z of whatever the it is that people tell people. So when people ask questions, or they question their religion, what sometimes they're looking for is clarification. They're looking for answers for things they do not understand, or they have a misunderstanding of, or it's just something that sounds contradictory to them, and so they're looking for clarification. So Nebuchadnezzar did not allow people to discern of what he was telling them to do. Jesus does. Christianity is supposed to allow us to discern what it is that we are coming to, and for us to come with it with some understanding. I'm not going to say that we'll have complete understanding, because that's absolutely not true. We will never have complete understanding of what our faith is, just because we will never have that perfect understanding of it, because that would put us like on the understanding of God. And I believe if you have perfect understanding, then you no longer have room to grow and to learn about the faith, and we should all be able to do that. So if you think back into Scripture of who Jesus ministered to, it wasn't the people who said, I'm perfect. It wasn't the people who said, I have the right answers, or I am right all the time, and you need to do as I say because I know what I'm talking about. It wasn't those. It was the people who had troubles. I mean, the Gentile woman who wasn't even a Jew came to Christ, and Christ ministered. When Christ fed the people, he did not say, I will only feed you if you bow down and worship me. He saw a need, and he addressed the need that they had. So when you look at Scripture of who Jesus ministered to, are people who mess up. Judas betrayed Jesus with silver. He still broke bread with him. He still had the Last Supper with Judas. He did not condemn him. He said, go and do what you must do. Peter denied Jesus 3 times. Jesus did not condemn him. But yet we condemn people who deny Christ. And what sense does that make? Peter walked with Jesus and still denied him and said, I do not know who he is. It was out of fear, more than likely. That's what we all assume. But he still denied Christ. And so many people will say, I would never deny Christ no matter what. You may not. But then again, we may be like Peter. Then there's Thomas. Thomas doubted. And yet, what did Christ do? He said, put your hands in my side and your fingers into my hands, and know that I am he, or some version of that. And so, if Christ will not condemn those who betrayed him, who denied him, who doubted him, then we should be able to ask questions and not just be blind followers. We should be able to allow people to ask questions about the faith and help them through that, And if you don't know the answer, explore together. Try and find the answers. Go to somebody who may know the answer, to a pastor, to a priest. Or there's literature references that you can go to in historical documents. So, what is it that's in your life where you are required to do something without question, even if you think that something may not be right, or you're not allowed to ask for clarification, that you're not allowed to learn, that you're not allowed to grow. You're just supposed to do it and that's it, and just accept it without anything else. Is it family, friends, your job, your church? My belief is that if your church or anyone who is in your religious group tells you that if you question anything, then you are angering God, it's time to walk away. They will stifle your growth. Because if you question things and ask questions, and whether you find, you come to the conclusion that you are right or that you are wrong, either way, that can help you grow, and it give you a firmer foundation in your faith because you struggled with that. And you can help someone else who's struggling with that. Because if you're not allowed to question those things, you're not allowed to learn, and you're not allowed to ask for clarification, you're not allowed to doubt, you don't grow. You stay right where you are as a child in your faith. And there's a time to be a child in the faith. But you don't want to stay the infant who never crawls. You don't want to stay the toddler who never falls down because you're afraid to stand up and walk. You want to grow into the adult who can now nurture someone else in their faith as you're growing in yours still. So we do not berate others when they are struggling in their faith, when they're questioning the whys, when they are having doubts. Just like we don't berate an infant and get mad at an infant and tell an infant, you just didn't believe enough, that's why you fell. You didn't believe enough, that's why you can't crawl. You had an accident, you're supposed to be potty trained, you're 3 years old. You're not supposed to berate infants or children like that because they're learning. You celebrate the accomplishments they have, and when they have setbacks, you step back with them and you help them through that struggle to the next one. So like when an infant starts walking and they fall, we clap and we cheer for the small steps that they took. And we don't just focus on the fall and say, oh, well, they messed up and they failed. We don't do that. We all make mistakes. We all have slip-ups. We will all fall. But what do we want when we fall? We want somebody there who can help us, who will walk with us, who can help us journey through our questions and through the struggles that we're having. We don't want people to say and treat us as a criminal because we ask questions. That's the difference between King Nebuchadnezzar and Jesus Christ. King Nebuchadnezzar executed immediately because he could not stand having any dissenters. He could not stand having anyone question anything that he decreed out. Could not stand it. Jesus will have the conversation with you. Jesus will sit down. He sat down with people in the past. And, he had the conversation with the Gentile. He had the conversation with the woman in adultery. He had a conversation with the prostitute. Of course, that's debatable. She's a prostitute. never said that, just as she had money. But he talked on the way on the road to Emmaus. He did not berate Judas, not Judas. He didn't berate Judas, Thomas. He didn't berate Thomas when he said that he didn't believe that he rose from the dead, and until he could, put his hand in Jesus' side and his fingers in his palms of his hands, he won't believe. And it's not that he thought that people were lying to him. He just could not grasp that concept. Jesus didn't come back and say, "I told you I was going to rise from the dead. Why didn't you believe me?" And then condemned him. He didn't do that. He even didn't condemn the people who crucified him or the people who called for his death. He still ministered from the cross. They were allowed to do that. They were allowed to question of who he was. They were allowed to have their doubts. And Jesus still ministered to them. We are allowed to have that. Don't ever let anyone tell you you're not allowed to have doubts, that you're not allowed to question. Do not allow people to say that you're not allowed to grow. Because growth, there are struggles when we grow. Even, children, we call it growing pains for a reason. We cannot grow if we don't struggle. Think of like the butterfly. When it comes out of its cocoon, it struggles to come out of the cocoon. Or even when a baby's born, it struggles to come out of the birth canal. So in order for us to grow in things, there will be some struggle. Not saying it's going to be a struggle all the time, but there will be struggles. And with those struggles becomes growth, and then we have a firmer understanding and foundation of what we believe, why we believe it, which makes us stronger in our faith and makes us better at helping those who are going through those same struggles at where they are, where we used to be. And the fact is, we're going to fall again, and we're going to struggle again, and we're going to want somebody to help us through that. So if anyone is telling you that you doubting means that you don't believe, they're absolutely wrong. There are doubters in the Bible that God put there into the faith for a reason. And it is to show us that we can do that. We are human. And we will have those emotions, we will have those doubts, we will have those struggles. And it's okay. God did not have people there that were perfect in every single way of the faith. So just look at your life, see where, you're not allowed to do that, and ask yourself, is it worth it? Is it worth the stress to not be able to seek understanding on anything? To never have an explanation on things, because sometimes explanations can help the process. And if not, have a conversation with them. You may have to walk away. You may not have a choice but stay. Who knows? Because everybody's situation is different. Things are different. Different jobs are different. Because certain jobs, you can't waver from what they say, but sometimes you want an explanation. You want to know why, the whys behind it. You want to learn, so you become a better employee, better student. We want to become better parents, better daughters and sons, better spouses. So this is what I leave you with. Don't berate your children, your spouse, your friends, your family, if they question things, if they have doubts. Try to understand where they are. Meet them where they are. They may not move from there, but if you show the compassion and the love that Christ showed us, it's going to make a difference. They may not change their stance, but they'll know that they can talk to you without the condemnation and the judgment. So God bless. I hope this has brought something to you today. I hope that you learned something new today, or at least have a different perspective of something. And I will see you next time. Have a good evening.